One of my favorite video games based off Marvel Comics is Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which was released in October of 2006. Originally, it was ported to the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and Nintendo Wii consoles, as well as the Game Boy Advance, PlayStation Portable, and of course, Microsoft Windows. I grew up playing the game on the PS2, but the copy I have now, and will be reviewing in this video, is the PS3 version, which came out a month or so afterwards, in November of 2006, making it one of the very first games released on the console. Compared to the original one I played, this one obviously has updated graphics and features, but I'll discuss more of that as we go. Ultimate Alliance was the natural continuation of the other two Activision titles they had released in the previous years, two games I have already reviewed, X-Men Legends and its sequel, X-Men Legends 2 Rise of Apocalypse, which were both grand-scale action role-playing games featuring characters from the X-Men universe. While the X-Men Legends games featured characters from X-Men stories primarily, this new game brought in characters from the wider Marvel universe, everybody you could think of really. Because of this, I find Ultimate Alliance to be more enjoyable for not only hardcore Marvel fans, but even those that may not be that familiar with the X-Men in general, and wanted something a bit broader in scope. Now, you could play as all your favorites, spanning the entirety of Marvel Comics. With all of these characters at their disposal, and the ability to draw from the far reaches of the Marvel Universe, it makes Ultimate Alliance feel far more epic than its previous X-Men counterparts, though I love those games too, and don't mean to bash them in any way. Ultimate Alliance has you pick a team of 4 heroes from a roster of over 20 that you can switch out at any time, so don't worry, as you go up against Doctor Doom and his version of the Masters of Evil, consisting of some of the most dastardly villains Marvel has to offer, like Loki, the Enchantress, Baron Mordo, Ultron, the Mandarin, Fin Fang Foom, Mephisto, and a slew of many others. Basically, all the bosses and sub-bosses you fight in this game are members of the group. It's one of the biggest villain teams of its size. Doctor Doom plans on stealing the powers of Odin to become a god, which not only allows him to conquer Earth, but if gone unchecked long enough, he could destroy the entire universe, which is why all the heroes have joined forces. They're our last hope. This game makes use of load screens very well, at least I think so, much like the X-Men Legends games did as well. Before a major boss appears and you load into that area, you will see an image of the character. While we all know who they are now, back then when I was a kid, I was introduced to many of these characters through this game. I had no clue who some of them were. Whenever a new load screen popped up, I would ask myself, who's that? Or, whoa, look at that dude, how am I gonna beat him? I think for young kids and newcomers to Marvel, this is amazing, simple childhood wonder, and for any of us hardcore fans, it's still just as epic when you see one of these villains plaster themselves over your TV screen. You know what's coming, even if someone you're playing with might not. That makes for a lot of fun. Ultimate Alliance features a wide range of characters, over 140, spanning the entirety of the Marvel Universe. You get to explore a lot of interesting worlds and environments, such as the Valley of the Spirits, where you take on the Mandarin in his massive palace, go to the Omega Base, a mobile research facility of S.H.I.E.L.D., to fight AIM soldiers, and the mental organism designed only for killing himself, MODOK. Mephisto's realm, which is essentially hell, full of fire and brimstone to save Jean Grey and Nightcrawler. Asgard, where you fight a bunch of the gods found within Norse mythology, the Shi'ar Empire, where you help Lilandra reclaim her throne, and even the Skrull homeworld where you fight off Galactus, who is intending to devour it as an energy source. My favorite level of them all, though, is Arcades, because he tricks you into believing you have reached Doom's castle, only to transform your surroundings into his ever-twisted murder world, full of deadly traps and robotic duplicates of your allies. His mission is definitely the most vibrant and colorful of them all. You even get to play a wacky version of Pitfall at 1.2. It's so much fun. His world always keeps you guessing, there's never a dull moment. The final confrontation with Doom in his castle is quite satisfying as well, and feels like one big gauntlet. He has used his godly powers to corrupt various heroes, and you must face off against dark versions of Captain America, Colossus, Cyclops, Psylocke, Spider-Man, and Thor. Doom even manages to influence his greatest enemies, the Fantastic Four, and they aid him during your final battle with Doom, which can be a little difficult at times. Unfortunately, there is one mission or part of the game that I find gets less enjoyable with each playthrough, and that's Atlantis. While seeing Namor the Submariner is always great, I feel the environment gets a little too stale and repetitive at times. Being underwater sounds cool, but it's not that fun. All your heroes animate as if they are swimming. Your movement feels slower, but their attacks are pretty much the same, which to me has always felt a little disappointing. You don't get the sense you are really underwater during combat. The control can become frustrating at times because you get caught on parts of the environment and having to hit triangle multiple times to swim upwards, as opposed to holding it like you do when flying, is kind of annoying too. Also, rays of light come down from what I can only guess is the surface, but when they block the foreground they can hurt your eyes a bit, especially during fights when the camera moves around a lot. It's nauseating. Overall, Atlantis is just an underwhelming and annoying part of the game. They could have done so much more with it. It had so much more potential. The hub worlds you walk around in before you start your next mission can be great, and there are lots to do in them. Talking to NPCs that give you a little bit more information on the story, Easter eggs to past Marvel comics and storylines, a trivia game you can do which gives you some bonus XP, and even simulator missions that are found on discs hidden across the game world that allow you to play non-story related levels for specific characters, some even loosely based on iconic comic books or confrontations between a hero and a villain. These are all great additions to the game, and some are rather challenging when you take into account you are playing as one character and can't rely on any allies. Much like X-Men Legends 1 and 2, Ultimate Alliance is your typical run-of-the-mill RPG. Its role-playing game elements are fairly basic compared to its other more notable contemporaries, but it still works great all things considered. You can level up your heroes, spend points on various powers and attacks you can switch out, and even equip gear that you can find throughout missions and after defeating bosses that give you additional abilities. Each hero has multiple costumes as well, which grant you certain benefits, such as increased health, health regeneration, energy or melee damage, increased XP gained from defeating enemies, improved momentum which allows you to reach your special ultimate move faster, or ones like Ghost Rider's original costume, that once fully leveled up, gives you a 50% chance of instantly reviving a teammate when they have fallen, which is kind of OP really. Some of these benefits are useful, but unless you're playing on the hardest difficulty or something, you don't really need to worry too much about strengths and weaknesses of each character, because this game is fairly easy. Easier than X-Men Legends 1 and 2 in my opinion. The RPG elements are there, but like I said, they're basic. There is an option to allow the game to automatically spend all the points for you in case you just want to play without worrying about all the numbers. In many ways, Ultimate Alliance holds your hand throughout, and you can go on autopilot for the majority. This might be a negative in the minds of hardcore RPG fans who want more of a challenge, but to someone like me who has never been that big of a fan of the genre to begin with, or is that familiar with the ins and outs of it, it works fine. If anything, it's more pick up and play in that regard. Besides, the story is the main reason I play this, not so much the gameplay. But if I were to review the gameplay and not hold back, then let's get some of the main issues out of the way. First and foremost, because this game is fairly basic, and unless you're playing on the hardest difficulty, there isn't really a whole lot of strategy to the battles. Then again, even on hard, it can get monotonous at times. You basically mash buttons for the most part, and spam power moves with the occasional enemy who is impervious to special attacks or something, but even then, you just do what the game tells you, and they die fairly quick without much hassle. Because of this, Ultimate Alliance's gameplay can feel very repetitive at times, though on the hardest difficulty because the weaker enemies take longer to kill, the slower gameplay experience can feel even more dull surprisingly, at least it feels that way to me. Another minor thing I noticed compared to the X-Men Legends games is that rather than have a chain of strong attacks with the use of Circle, in Ultimate Alliance, it's replaced with an attack you can charge up. Because of this, the number of preset combos you can do is more limited than what it was in X-Men Legends. You can still end any combo with circle, but any beginning with it are now gone. I don't know why this was changed. Because this game was released in the early days of the PlayStation 3, it also has 6-axis motion control functionality, though the word functionality is generous because this thing barely functioned at all in any game I played with it. In Ultimate Alliance, there are several instances that use this control, and it's downright garbage. It makes boss battles like Arcade, Ymir, the Kraken, and Galactus virtually unplayable. It's impossible to get anywhere with them. So, go to the options, turn that shit off, and just press the button commands like it was on the PS2. Yeah, not everyone likes QuickTime events in video games, but some of the bosses make sense that you wouldn't be able to attack them like the others, and at least now you can actually play the damn thing, beat them, and progress. Fuck 6-axis, I hate you. Being that this is a PS3 port, this version of Ultimate Alliance obviously has better graphics than the one found on PS2 or Xbox, among others. I think the environments look a lot better than they did in the original, but this is an early 7th generation game, and it shows. Even the cutscenes, while okay, compared to the one I played when I was a kid, seem very lazy, with a few new textures and that's about it. The models themselves don't seem much different. Also, some of the faces look really messed up. Look at Thor, he looks like a hippie. A few other random things I wanted to mention about this game. I think the roster itself is fairly lacking in hindsight. It's missing some big names like the Hulk, for example, and could have benefited from the inclusion of a few villains like later games would feature. I have the PS3 version, which had Moon Knight and Colossus as system exclusives, or so I thought. The Xbox 360 got Cyclops, Hawkeye, Nightcrawler, the Hulk, Doctor Doom, Magneto, Venom, and Sabretooth, on top of Moon Knight and Colossus, my favorite X-Man. So fuck that shit. The PlayStation users definitely got the short end of the stick there. What gives? Mind you, I would only really want to play as the heroes, though having villains sounds cool. This game's story doesn't really justify villains teaming with the heroes, at least it doesn't explain it as well as Rise of Apocalypse did, or the Ultimate Alliance games moving forward. Their absence doesn't really bother me. One thing that RPGs are known for are their side quests or side missions. While Ultimate Alliance does have them, and most are trivial, they do affect the story in their own way, at least a little bit. The Watcher plays a big part in the latter half of the story, and he breaks his oath of just observing, doesn't he always, to help the heroes defeat Doom. After you do, he runs down all of the decisions and choices you have made throughout the game, whether or not you completed each side mission in each level. Some result in minor consequences, and others more major, affecting the entire universe. Though these side missions don't affect the main game's narrative, I think having them each result in their own little paths is quite interesting. Honestly, some can be pretty brutal. You feel kind of guilty being lazy, running past that one thing you missed in that one level. Oh well, fuck it, I tried. I saved the universe from Doom. What more do you want from me, Uatu? Fuck off. Despite some of its flaws, Marvel Ultimate Alliance is still one of my favorite superhero games ever. Yeah, its RPG elements are a bit simplistic and its gameplay and graphics are a little rough around the edges at times, but it remains one of the biggest and most epic Marvel crossovers I have ever witnessed. I think its story, involving Doctor Doom and his gigantic team of supervillains, gives any Avengers movie, or comic book for that matter, a run for its money. This shit is pure genius, and balls to the wall. I think I played this game at the right time when I was a kid, when I knew about some things related to Marvel and superheroes, but still had no idea the sense of scale there really was to everything. Ultimate Alliance was my gateway drug into all things Marvel. It introduced me to its vast universe, all these amazing characters I had no idea existed before. Compared to some video games of today, especially RPG ones, Ultimate Alliance is nothing special, it's nothing to write home about. I think my nostalgia for it is why I put it so high up on that pedestal of superhero games. But even still, I can't I? It had an immense effect on me as a youth, and still does even to this day, every time I play it. If you can get your hands on it, do yourself a favor and try it out. You might love it. Assemble your heroes, pick your dream team, take on Doctor Doom, and save the universe. I want to thank everybody for watching this video, and all of my patrons who voted for this game review on patreon.com. If you would like to have a say in which superhero game I take a look at next on the channel, if you would like to take part in the voting and nomination process, all you have to do is become a patron for my content and join any of my tiers over on patreon.com. The polls happen monthly, so it's an ongoing process. Again, I thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.
Such insignificant creatures. They dare steal from Galactus. For that, I will destroy their planet.